is God, and sometimes man, being one's own and the world's beloved, is his main job. Others can become as much God or as much man as he, but only Baba is more beloved than any other beloved, and infinitely worth serving. But now, a great problem arises: how to serve the one who is all beloved. For whatever one does with love is done by him. And all that is done for the beloved is done by the beloved. And so one arrives at the painful conclusion that the beloved alone exists, which means that oneself doesn't. And that's a terrible predicament to find oneself in, for one is still there. The only solution I found was to accept this position. You alone are, and I am not. But we are both here. And having arrived at this acceptance, Baba now taught me a poetical form capable of expressing all the shades of the impossible relationships of lover and beloved. Such a form has not existed in English up until now, because the lover-beloved dilemma was not part of the British-American consciousness. And of course, beloved Baba, being the author of this new form, was, or seemed to be, delighted with my exercises in it. And here is a delicious piece of humor in connection with this. There was a period when Baba had me read a new poem to him 3 times every morning. Do you know why 3 times? Baba was memorizing them. Why memorizing them? So that he could quote them next time he comes back in 700 years. That is really God-man humor, isn't it? Then there was his extraordinary orders, or commissions. His last was for 30 ghazals. Ghazal is the name of the new poetical form he taught me. It happened this way. One morning, after the usual morning business was finished, Baba said he wanted me to write 30 ghazals. Could I do that? I replied promptly and brightly, "No, Baba." This reply seemed to rather astonish him. He turned to the other mandali and said, "Well, what do you think of that? I asked this fellow to write 30 ghazals, and he says, 'No, Baba.'" Then Baba turned questioningly back to me. I said, or rather groaned, "I don't know whether I can write 1 ghazal, and you ask for 30? I don't think there are any more in my head." Then he says, sympathetically and persuasively, "Try, and I will help you." So it was back to the stone quarry again to cut and build 30 more little poem houses, each one a bit different, for the beloved likes variety. But still, I did not know what a mighty beloved our beloved is. This knowledge has come to me only recently, since Baba laid aside his form. Now, the beloved would not be the beloved if he didn't have 1,000 whims and moods, if he didn't play his eternal game of divine pretense, if he was not all ears to the lover's praise and stone deaf to his complaints, if he was not all knowledge and all ignorance at the same time. He would not be the beloved if he did not decorate the walls of his wine shop. would not be the beloved if he did not decorate the walls of his wine shop with pretty pictures such as all the world's religions being drawn together as beads on one string, and 700 years of peace. And then invite the lover to cross deserts of heart dryness and oceans of tears to receive the wine of his kiss. But when the lover at last staggers in at the door, the beloved spends the whole time showing him the pictures and expecting his interest and admiration. What a beloved our beloved is. What a beloved we have chosen to serve. What is it to the thirst-crazed lover if a lot of glass beads are strung on one string? Will it make them turn into diamonds? What if there is 700 years of peace? Will not war again follow? He would not be the beloved if he did not tell the lover to stand up and sit down at the same moment, to become footless and to walk, to become headless and think, to exert himself to the utmost and leave everything to him. Though it is not yet the time to know the wine of his kiss on our lips, we have received the kiss of his word in our hearts. If it were not so, how could all you dear ones, who have never seen his man form, be here today? Why has beloved Baba given you people this extraordinary privilege? Because he required a few to do what the many, what everyone must eventually do. Journey across the world of illusion to take darshan of him in their hearts. What a beloved is our beloved. What a mighty beloved. This word that he has spoken in your hearts, which will be spoken in every heart in the world, will lead you by the hand and drive you with whips to the door of your beloved, to the wine shop of your master, where it will become your own pure song of praise and will cause the beloved wine master to open the door and bring you in and pour for you a glass of wine of self-forgetfulness and beloved alone remembrance. The very word with which he knocked on the doors of your hearts and aroused you to set your feet on the path to him. The same word will knock on his door and make him open it to you himself. I bow down to this mighty one in each of you. But you also have your parts to play on this grand journey you have begun. You must not leave it all to your beloved. For every step the lover takes to the beloved takes 10 steps to the lover. But the lover must continually take that one step. We must practice taking beloved Baba's darshan, bowing down to him in our hearts every day, then every moment, until we have continuous sight of him. Happenings will happen, even grand happenings, but they will not be that happening which has to happen in our hearts. So do not look to these other happenings to nourish your faith. Depend only upon his word and its song in your hearts. Be prepared for a long, long journey to have the beloved's real darshan. But it may only take a mere 700 years to reach his door and bow down to him for the last time and merge in him forever. Jai Baba.
This is a cradle song for God.
Somewhere within the dark, here are the seeds of singing. Sleep, little Krishna, sleep. We cannot yet endure your song. Somewhere within the waters are the buds of speech. Sleep, little Jesus, sleep. We are not ready yet to hear your word. Somewhere within the pain is our new beginning. Sleep, little mare, sleep. We are not yet prepared for our own glory. Somewhere within the pain is our new beginning. Sleep, little mare, sleep. We are not yet prepared for our own glory.
This next song is called Eileen, and it's about Mary Baba coming to Eileen's house to meet her for the first time.
Baba can't come till the banjo's ready. Yeah. Yes.
All right.
Good.
That sounds good.
Where was I? Had to go
Use
back.
this, just use this.
The moon pales as she sails on her journey nightly. The dawn breaks, Eileen wakes, the sun rises brightly, and her soul to her heart begins a sweet singing. Today is the day my darling is bringing. Fair, most fair of all fair, the fairest, the perfume, the soft bloom of all singing rarest, has promised this day that himself will be pacing the petal-strewn path to our house he will gracing. Then she rose and quick chose the best of her dresses, spent not long in sweet song, combing her tresses. He came to the gate and she flew to him crying. The flowers inhaled the breath of her sighing. told her the one ancient story that ever as a river reflects its true glory. Amidst the bright flowers she left her care sleeping. I wonder why it is that I am now weeping. I wonder why it is that I am now weeping. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai.
The Tale of the Horse and the Rabbit. A horse and a rabbit, who were in the habit of talk over cups of tea, discussed and decided they had too long resided in the midst of the great teeming city. Said Rabbit, "The confusion on peace is intrusion." Said Horse, "Yes, that is the great pity. The only conclusion is that the world is illusion. Together, let us to God journey." They prepared for the way. Then the rabbit did say, "Though as friends we will travel together, it is best that I lead. We will then make speed, and successful will be our endeavor." The horse gave a cough that was just enough to cover and smother his laughter. They started away and traveled all day, Rabbit leading and Horse trotting after, and thus all the day they traveled that way and camped that night under the stars, some way from the road, so that they should not be run over by cars. The stars were so bright. It was a delight to be sleeping out in the open. And when the day broke, they straightway awoke, stretched, and ahead the rabbit went lopin'. Lopin' along with a chatter and song, and behind him the horse clop, clop, clopped, till they came to a creek 10 feet wide and 2 deep, and the rabbit abruptly stopped. He became quite pale and bobbled his tail. Oh, it was a sad sight to see. His nostrils quivered, his body shivered, and he became also weak in one knee. Said the horse, "Oh, Rabbit, it is not your habit to suddenly stop on the way. You're always so sprightly and chatter so brightly. What's causing you now such dismay? How pale you've become, and so strangely dumb. Great leader who needs no counsel. Oh, why at this hour have you lost your power and are rooted like a bit of groundsel? Oh me, this great flood, it freezes my blood. It must be some uncharted river. It's as wide as a lake. Why did this way I take? The like of it have seen never." "Oh, leader," said Horse, "let's not stop on our course and be dismayed by a mere creek. Some way you must find, while I follow behind, till we reach the goal that we seek." "Oh, Horse, dear companion, It's surely a canyon so wide and deep, it's no mere river. You are mighty and strong. Oh, please take me along on your back, and I'll boast again never. Hop up, said the horse, and feel no remorse, but take this good lesson to heart. Do not others deceive, but obey and believe till God gives you the leader's part. I will now read 2 ghazals written by Francis Brabazon. Though fate 1,000 times makes you a pawn in its game, do not give up. Cling like a child to the skirt of your beloved's name. Though the wave rises before you, awful as a mountain, do not give up. It is but a ripple on the pond of the knowledge bliss fountain. Though fortune, fair as a fickle goddess, smiles on you, do not give up. Behind the smile is the ever-loving, the true. Though earth be crushed under the hammers of the sun, do not give up. When the wreck is swept away, before you will be the beloved's form. Though your beloved may look at you askance, do not give up. One day will come his invitation to the dance. Think of the men who went before, those who will come after. Do not give up. Earth, millions of times. Our troubles a matter for huge laughter. The end of every affair was in its beginning. Do not give up. The conclusion of your journey is in your singing. Love loves not those whom love fattens, but makes destitute. From the orchard's winter ruin burgeons the summer fruit. If you are desiring well-being, it is not your time for the twists and graces of inconsequential rhyme. One cannot become one with the beloved whomsoever until one has severed oneself from selfness forever. The great lovers have always ardently pursued death. First, they surrendered their hearts, then their minds, and then their breath. Like the deer and the dog, they followed the scent afar. In the darkest night, they gave birth to the brightest star. Give up hope, foolish heart. There's no death worse than expectancy. Love for love's sake alone, and you have solved every mystery. The path is a looped rope with both ends in the same place. One end was God's desire. The other is the Master's grace. Dave.
Good morning, Jai Baba. Unfortunately, none of the Australians who came to the Great Darshan can be with us here today, but some of them have kindly written down their recollections of that momentous event in their life. And this morning we're going to just share 5 of those stories with you of how coming to Guru Prasad and Mehrabad and Merazad in 1969 changed people's lives. And when they went back to Australia, how it lit a flame that turned into a fire and touched the hearts of many in that great continent. So the first account I want to share is from... can I just have some help? Can you just put them on? Yeah, I can't. That's good. Yes. The first account is from Jim Miskia, who lives in Melbourne. A telegram came from the Mandali in India saying that the Darshan would still be on as per Baba's orders described by Mani in the family letters. Our small group left from Melbourne, flew to Sydney, where we met the rest of the groups, and finally we reached Bombay, and when we landed it was late at night, very hot, and the smell of India hit us. On the tarmac to greet us were Francis Brabazon and Adi Kayarani. They greeted us, and just above us, high up on the airport viewing balcony, were Baba's lovers, giving out a loud Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. It was overwhelming, and we shed a tear as Francis said to us, "Welcome home." We visited Aurangabad and went to visit important sites there and at the Ellora Caves, where Baba often went and loved the atmosphere there. Because of Baba's connection here, Francis and Adi took us all around the caves, and we all sang the Australian Arti in the main Buddhist cave. Then finally we went to Pune. We all visited Baba's house in Pune. Baba's brother Jal was there to guide us and showed us his hand where Baba had placed a burning piece of charcoal to test his faith in Baba. We all bowed down at the black stone that Baba banged his head on when he was coming down from consciousness. There was also the eternal flame that was burning in an alcove above, near pictures of Baba, Zoroaster and Jesus. I remember Dr. Donkin being always there to assist us. Behind the scenes, he was making sure that our hotel in Pune was clean, even to the point that he supervised the cleaning of the kitchens and the toilets. One day, once we were at Guru Prasad during the Darshan, I had a ride in Dr. Donkin's marvellous car to Guru Prasad, where the Darshan was held. I sat bolt upright in the passenger seat. It was such a thrill, because Baba had sat in that seat also. Dr. Donkin had beautiful blue eyes which seemed to be searching and missing Baba's physical form. He wore a beret and had pink cheeks and was very polite and English and very unassuming. During the first day of the Darshan, we were very much looking forward to meeting Baba at Guru Prasad, and our first impression was even more grand than we expected. Walking through the front gates and down through the gardens, and then seeing the magnificent palace in all its splendour, and then being introduced to the Mandali. The men Mandali met us outside on the veranda, and also Mani and the other women Mandali. I think we saw Baba's beloved Mera inside Guru Prasad Hall. I remember that we belonged as a Baba family, all of us, including the Mandali, in Baba's presence. The Darshan program started at 9 a.m. on the dot. When we entered the main hall, Erich welcomed us and asked if anyone knew the Master's prayer and the prayer of repentance. Lee Buchanan knew it perfectly by heart, and we all said the prayers. Erich asked Mera to meet us, and she said, "Jai Baba," with folded hands. It was very moving. It was very brave, but Mera was queenly in her standing before Baba and all of us. We all took our turn to bow down to Baba's chair. It was obvious that he was there to greet each and every one of us, and we felt that our mission was complete, and we had obeyed Baba's wish not to see him during his seclusion, but fulfilled our obligation to come for Baba's darshan here at Guru Prasad when he called us. I still can't express my feelings fully, but it was the most important action that Baba allowed me to do, to bow down to him in that chair. Erich related some wonderful stories of Baba and the story of Guru Prasad. Francis Brabazon read The Mighty Beloved, which we've just heard, and the words I remember were, "I am amazed and filled with joy to discover that the beloved I have been serving for many years is truly a mighty beloved." It was a very powerful message and showed us who Francis was. Mani also told some marvellous stories, and Erich asked if the Australian group would like to perform a skit or a song or just entertain Baba right now. And The Horse and the Rabbit that we've just seen was one of those skits. Another time I remember that we all sat on the carpeted floor at Guru Prasad and met the women Mandali. We talked freely to the women. I sat next to Rano Gailey, who told us some stories, and later Meru sat down next to me. Little Naja, the cook, was there too, and she was funny. She'd cooked for Baba. During the time, the most important things were being in Baba's presence, Baba's beloved Mera coming in front of us and introducing herself with Jai Baba. Erich made a big impression on all of us as he was the master of ceremonies. When we finally came back to Australia, I tried to explain to my mother how Baba gave me his love to her through me, and I was happy. Baba had wanted this conveyed to all back in Australia.
Recollection of the 1969 Darshan. Maria Oakhill, at the time Maria Gray, who has lived on Mayhair Road next to Avatar's abode for many years. My grandmother gave me the everything and the nothing for my 16th birthday. I'd already met May Lundquist and heard of Baba, but reading that really filled me in about him. May asked me what I thought about it, and I said I really liked everything Baba had to say, but I didn't know whether he was God. And May said, "God in human form is on earth and you're missing the boat." So I thought I'd better give it some thought, and I looked at his photo and thought, if he is God and he wants me to know he's God, I'm looking and listening. My first recollection when we arrived at Guru Prasad was sitting in the main hall. I didn't have the feeling that Baba was there, but I remember the bereftness of the women Mandali, the total wipe out of Mera. And I think Mani kept herself together for Mera's sake. Francis gave the talk called The Mighty Beloved, and Erich ran the show. He was a rock, the one obviously holding it all together. We were taken on a trip to Meherabad and Merazad. We paid attention to the coat and the painting in the museum because we were told how important they are. There were no trees going up to the tomb. It was quite barren. The ladies really made an effort to reach out to us and mix with us. Really, Guru Prasad, Meherabad and Merazad were the most important part of the trip for me. We'd done some sightseeing in Bombay and Aurangabad and went to the Baba places in Pune and visited the fire temple with Adi. But My overall feeling about it has always been that it was the center of my life. I had always wanted to achieve something like Olympians did, and I was quite happy then that I had done it. It was totally the achievement and highlight of my life. When I returned home to Australia and got back to work, it was like a fire was burning in me and I didn't want to eat. I felt like I was being given a taste of what it was like to really want God and what one day I might come to. I didn't have any experiences in India or feelings of Baba or love from the Mandali. It wasn't until I got back and went to work that I felt it. I was astounded, and I knew it would affect the rest of my life. Jai Baba. And lastly, from the Australians, some recollection from Lee Rowan. Lee lives on Mayher Road, right next to Avatar's abode. Thursday, 15th May. On the first morning, our buswala, Jal Dastur, said that it was important to start the bus trip with a very loud Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. When we arrived at Guru Prasad, I remember we just all stood there. Then very quickly, my friend Joy went forward in a confident way, like she had been there for years. Erich and Francis welcomed us with warm embraces and a hearty Jai Baba. Then all the Mandali, except Meera, embraced us. Yes? Okay, please put your cell phones on silent and don't talk. All the Mandali except Meera embraced us. Baba was so present among us that it was only now being introduced to the Mandali that I remembered that he was not in his physical body. Mani then came over to us and said, "Look, Baba, your children have come. Baba told us all about you. He said, 'You will see my children.' And you have come, you have come." To the older ones and those who had met Baba before, it was a homecoming of a different order. But it was so evident that we were all one united family. Erich welcomed us all in a very cheerful manner. The Master's prayer was recited, and with every line I could feel Baba. It was so powerful. Then came the beautiful moment when Meera joined the group with the greeting, Jai Baba, and the women Mandali sang Baba's Aarti. Francis stood up and began his talk, The Mighty Beloved, and it mirrored how we all felt. He opened with something like, "You have come across continents and oceans to bow down to the beloved in your hearts, and that is a different order of devotion altogether." He reflected on Baba's God-manness and the elusive play of the beloved. Then came the moment for Baba's Darshan, and each bowed to his chair. After the program, we visited Baba's bedroom and the room where he used to give discourses. Then in the afternoon, the women visited the women Mandali. As I stood closer to Meera, she said to us all, "Baba is God. Meher Baba is God." Even now I can hear it. Friday, 16th May. Everyone's pace had quickened and we all walked into our home and took our places before beloved Baba. Francis and Adi read, and we all entertained Baba with songs and skits. Apart from attending the program, we women went to spend some time again with the women Mandali. We all sat around on their beds, and Mira got out a suitcase full of all sorts of letters, photos, and trinkets, and Baba's hair. She gave us all a bit of Baba's hair, and she passed around the letters and photos sent to her by Baba lovers from all over the world. She told us many stories about experiences Baba lovers had had surrounding Baba's dropping of his physical body. She was always remembering Baba's dropping of his body, and her grief was unimaginable. But then she would laugh when she saw a funny photo of Baba, or was asked to tell stories of the riotous plays they performed for Baba. It was at this meeting that the women told us about the last hours of Baba's physical life. It was an unforgettable feeling of pain and suffering, and utter hopelessness and helplessness, as the Mandali worked day and night to relieve Baba's intense pain. His spasms grew worse and worse, and the men worked continuously massaging his body and mopping his brow. Baba had been calling his workers from all over India and giving them instructions. He gave out the 3 Hafiz quotes to the Mandali. Mani had to write the family letters about birds chirping at Mirazad, while beloved God-man was being torn to pieces. It was agonizing. Eventually, Baba was persuaded to groan a little to ease the pain. But finally, he dropped his body. Mira told us that she cried, "Baba, come back, you are God." But Baba's physical body was now an empty house. Almost immediately, the tireless Erich began to work, and all the Mandali continued preparations for the huge crowds that would come to pay homage to the beloved in the tomb on Mehrabad Hill. Guru Prasad, Monday 19th and Tuesday 20th May. On our last day after taking Baba's darshan, it was time to leave Guru Prasad, and we were getting sad when we learned that the women were to come back the next day. The women Mandali had conspired together and convinced Erich and Francis to let us come back for lunch. Mira herself said that with the help of the other women Mandali, they would prepare Baba's favourite dishes, and so it was announced that we would get an extra day of darshan. The last day at Guru Prasad was a very happy one. We women were invited to eat in the kitchen with the women Mandali, and all the others ate in the main hall. We enjoyed Baba's favourite food and heard so many stories about Baba. The Mandali bid us farewell to the cry of Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. They all said, "Take Baba's love with you to Australia. Take him in your hearts and give his love to all." We left Pune on 21st May to fly to Bombay. The Bombay Baba lovers farewelled us at the airport, singing aloud, "Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai." And that concludes the...
So that was the ladies' recollections, and I got 2 more short recollections from 2 of the men. So the first one is from John Martin, also known as Noddy. He lived at Mapleton, which is near Avatar's abode in Queensland. I don't think I ever really hesitated to go to India, because by that stage I was convinced that Baba was God anyway. So I thought, well, if he arranged this darshan and he's God, he must have known he was going to drop his body before the darshan. We were meant to go. I couldn't see any other way, really. Our Brisbane group joined the other Australian groups, and we all flew to India. To me, Pune just seemed like a fairly small Indian town in the desert. I couldn't see much greenery in the place. Guru Prasad, though, I loved it. I just thought it was a beautiful place. Not because it was a mansion, but just because of its association with Baba. The thing that really struck me about the whole darshan program at Guru Prasad was I felt Baba's physical presence there so strongly. probably because it wasn't that long since he dropped the body, and also because of the atmosphere and all the Mandali were there who'd spent most of their lives with him. I felt it hard to believe that he wasn't there physically. Sometimes when I looked at his chair, I thought, he's really there, I just can't see. I really felt his presence there so strongly at that time. The funny thing is, I had certain memories, but a lot of it I felt like I was in a daze or a dream. The whole experience felt unworldly to me, like nothing that I'd ever experienced before in my life. When Erich and Francis addressed the group, I felt they had the power of Baba's truth behind them. I can't remember all the Mandali, but I know that I related really well to certain male members of the Mandali. They seemed so loving towards us all. I didn't really have that much to do with the women. Back then it seemed the women Mandali were there more for the women and the men for the men. When Erich and Francis addressed the group, I felt they had the power of Baba's truth behind them. And the last account is from Bernard Bruford. Bernard met Baba in 56 as a 13-year-old, 1958, the East-West Gathering in 62. And his parents, John and Joan Bruford, were asked by Baba to come from Melbourne and live at Avatar's abode. The only thoughts and feelings I can recall, which are incredibly vivid, are being invited to bow down to his chair, which I thought was a bit corny, but I was prepared to go along with it. It was more or less following the leader. I remember quite a few of the people in front of me were obviously being affected. The highlight of the trip for me was bowing down at the chair. It was the most significant experience I had ever had with Baba. I would use the expression supposedly empty chair. To me, this remains more significant than having met him in 56, 58 or 1962. That encounter of bowing down to the chair put my relationship with him on a different level, which it had never been on before. When Bernard was asked what impact it had on his life, he said, "I have no idea if the significance of that bowing down at the chair impacted my life when I returned. It was a significant chapter in my life with Baba. It was a very intimate moment, more than being with him here in Australia playing marbles. Bowing down to that chair was more intimate." And then he added, what I'd like to share with people is that I'm so aware that there's so many people who missed out or just missed out on meeting Baba in the physical form. And I'm sure they would give their right arm to have that opportunity. I know I can never see it from their point of view, but having met him in physical form 3 separate times, the most significant meeting between us was not the physical moments. It was bowing down to that chair in 69. The atmosphere of meeting him perhaps can't be captured on film, but the intimacy of the relationship is something which does not require the physical form. That concludes the sharing from the Australian attendees at the Great Darshan. And Avatar, Maya Baba, Ki Jai.
Thanks, Australian group. I had not to give any signal 5 minutes before. Now, before we invite Myrtle Beach, आप लोगों के लिए हिंदी में जो अभी फ्रांसिस ब्रेबेजॉन का मैसेज था, उसका छोटा एक पेज का आपके सामने हिंदी में बताया जाएगा.
अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय. फ्रांसिस ब्रेबेजॉन का ये कथन है जिसका मैं हिंदी में अनुवाद आपके सामने प्रस्तुत करने जा रही हूँ. आप सभी जानते हैं ऑस्ट्रेलियन आरती उन्होंने लिखी है. आज से 1 साल पहले अवतार ने अपने ऊपर करुणा का पर्दा डाल लिया था ताकि हम उसके सतत सत्य रूप को ढूंढें, ना कि उसके सुंदर रूप से मोह होकर जुड़े रहे हैं। अपना शरीर त्याग कर उन्होंने हमें खोजने का रास्ता दर्शाया है। उन्होंने हमें उद्वेलित किया है कि हम उनकी अपेक्षाओं पर खरे उतरें। इसमें कोई शक नहीं है कि आज और आने वाली कई अमर तिथियों पर हम वही अकेलापन महसूस करेंगे जब उन्होंने अचानक ही अपने आप को उन सब से अलग कर लिया था जिनसे उनका 7 वर्षों का था, और उनसे भी जो मात्र उनका चित्र, उनका नाम सुनकर उनके प्रेमी हो गए, वो भी इस एकाकीपन को महसूस करेंगे। उनके जीवन रूपी ब्रह्मांड में अचानक आई तब्दीली से जब ये समाचार पूरे विश्व में ज्ञात हुआ कि उन्होंने सबके आने का इंतज़ार नहीं किया, पर वे स्वयं सभी को ले गए एक अलौकिक यात्रा पर। उनका आगमन हुआ ही था प्रस्थान के लिए, और शायद यही सच्चा अनुवाद है अवतार शब्द का। पर सत्य तो ये है कि वो कहीं गए भी नहीं हैं। जो सर्वव्यापी है वो भला जा भी कहाँ सकता है। वो एक रात के मेहमान थे। 67 साल के इस मायावी दुनिया के होटल में रह के वो चले गए जब हम सब सो रहे थे। वो ऐसी खामोशी थी जो हजारों सुमधुर स्वरों में बिखर गई और लौटे ताकि हम उसके द्वार पर पहुंचने के रास्ते भर हम नाच गा सकें, खुश रह सकें। वो स्वयं थे, मूल थे, मौलिक थे, जो कि आंतरिक रूप से हम सभी को अपना अलौकिक अनुभव करवा रहे हैं। आखिर हम सभी का अनुभव अलग और अनोखा हो। इंसान जहाँ भूल जाता है उसके चरण कमल की राह की धूल को, वो व्यस्त है ऐसे गुणा भाग में, ध्यान मग्न है जिसका एक बटन दबाते ही लाखों लोग निष्प्राण हो जाएं, और आकाश गंगा के रास्ते वो तारों के पास जाकर ललकार सके ईश्वर को उसी की देहरी पर। ईश्वर जो स्वयं रूप है 5 सद्गुरुओं का, जानता है यही समय है जब स्वयं मनुष्य का रूप धारण करके अवतार का अवतरण इस युग की आवश्यकता अनुसार बने, ताकि मानव जाति के छोटे से छोटे तंतु को, जो उसकी आत्मा को स्वस्थ कर दे और उसका सुर उस सतत गीत को प्रदान करे जो प्रेम है, वो ही सब कुछ है। प्रेमी तो उसके सामने कुछ भी नहीं है। यही वो समय भी है जब जीवन के कुछ शाश्वत नियम हमें वो बताना चाहते हैं। भौतिक जीवन सुरक्षा का मानक नहीं है। जो हम समझते हैं वो मात्र छाया है, माया है उस सत्य की। वो दोनों ही रूप मानव सत्यता के हैं। इस अवतार के प्रकटीकरण में उन्होंने ये नहीं कहा कि कल की चिंता ना करो, बल्कि आज का ध्यान रखो। ध्यान रखो, वो आज कहते हैं वही कल भी होना है। उन सब का उत्तराधिकारी होगा। उसी दिन हमारे उनके साथ मुलाकात होगी। मेरे पास किसी फायदे की उम्मीद से ना आओ। मुझे मालूम है वो हर समय, जब तुम बीमार रहोगे या स्वस्थ रहोगे, गरीब रहोगे या अमीर रहोगे, एकाकी रहोगे या सांसारिक रहोगे, मेरे पास आओ तो देने के लिए थोड़ा अपना पुण्य, अपना पाप मैं उसे स्वीकारूंगा, क्योंकि मैं परिपूर्ण भिक्षु हूँ जो प्रेम से वो सभी को स्वीकारता हूँ जो मेरे कटोरे में डाल दिया गया है। ये सब सुंदर सा भिक्षु दोबारा धरती पर आया, शायद फिर हम उसे कुछ न दे सकें, अपने पाप, पुण्य, गरीबी, अमीरी, सफलता, असफलता, क्योंकि हम रूप धारण कर लेंगे उस धूली का जो उसके चरणों में लगी रहती है। उन्होंने मुझे अपना अलौकिक उत्तराधिकारी बनाया है क्योंकि वे सर्वज्ञानी हैं। चूंकि हम भिक्षु हैं, हम उसमें से उस नीले आसमान के नीचे उपस्थित रहकर हर एक चाह की थोड़ी थोड़ी भीख मांगते रहते हैं। कितने दफ़े मैं उनके सम्मुख बैठा हूँ, उन्होंने कहा है कि तुम मुझे देखकर मुस्कुरा दिया करो। जो सूर्य सब धरातल पर सबको देख के मुस्कुराता हो, उसे मेरी मुस्कुराहट से क्या फ़र्क पड़ता है। पर उनके कहने का तरीका ये है कि आप सभी अपनी मनस्थिति मुझे दे दें और फिर मैं भी तुम्हें देखकर मुस्कुराता हूँ। मौलिक शब्दों के रचनाकार को क्या आवश्यकता है हमारी कविताएं और हमारे गीत सुनने की। वो भी सुनते हैं ताकि किसी दिन हमें शब्दों की दीवार को तोड़ दें, हम उन सीमाओं को तोड़ दें, हम उसकी प्रखरता से सम्मोहित हो सकें। उन्होंने हमसे भिक्षा ली ताकि हम मात्र उनके प्रेम मात्र की भिक्षा मांगे। चूँकि हम वो नहीं देते हैं जो मांगा जा रहा है, तो हम दुखी होते हैं। दुख तो वैभवता है जो भिक्षु नहीं मांग सकता। दुख नहीं, चाहत है उसकी राह में, चाहत भी नहीं, निश्चिंतता है, बल्कि वो भी नहीं, क्योंकि हर एक शय है उसी के भरोसे पर, उसकी शक्ति के, और उसकी शक्ति ही उसका स्वाभाविक स्वभाव है, और उसकी इसी चाह ने हमें दास बनाया है, समुद्र में एक बूंद के समान। बस हमें यही कहना है कि अब हम अपने अपने राग अलापना बंद कर दें। बस मुझे यही कहना है कि अब हम अपने अपने राग अलापना बंद कर दें और गाएं गीत उसके नाम के। उसका विदा होने का अर्थ है कि अब हम विदा हों स्वयं अपने आप से, वो विदा हुए खामोशी से, ताकि हम अपने हृदय में सुन सकें उन सभी शब्दों के स्रोत को, उस परम ब्रह्म को। विजय उसी की हो। धन्यवाद।
थैंक यू नेहा। अभी हमारे बीच में मिडिल बीच का प्रेजेंटेशन है, जो बाबा के दर्शन में, महान दर्शन में चार्टर्ड फ्लाइट से उनका एक पूरा ग्रुप आया था, तो वो आपके सामने उस समय की कुछ यादों को शेयर करने वाले हैं। नाउ मिडिल बीच group is invited and your time starts now, please.
Jai Baba. Johan, can we start the slideshow? Is it on?
Not yet.
Yeah.
We have
Myrtle
to
Beach,
switch.
South Carolina is blessed
We have
to be
to
the
switch.
location of the Mayher Spiritual Center, beloved Baba's home in the West. The Avatar visited there in the 1950s, and during his last visit, he said that he never leaves the center. The Mayher Center was quiet for many years, but in the 1960s, there was a tremendous explosion in the number of young Baba lovers, American Baba lovers,
It will work, but give me a
that
minute
suddenly
to
started
open
coming
this
to
up.
the center.
This is going to be
And in
difficult. because I won't
1968,
have
in
any
the fall of
display on here, so
1968,
you know what I'm
we heard
going
that
to.
there was going to be
What's the name
a
of it?
Darshan. Baba had given the invitation.
Darshan
But then Baba seemed to slip away, and some people changed their plans, but nonetheless, the Darshan was held, and so it was our great blessing to come and be present at that 69 Darshan.
This is only a PowerPoint.
Yeah, that's what he wants.
When we arrived at Guru
Go back here
Prasad,
and help me figure, because I never use these things.
Just press the arrow keys.
nope,
I need to go full screen.
we found that Baba's
This is the slideshow.
presence was
No.
immeasurably
Just press
felt in that
Press this.
chair that we bowed down
And press the
to.
arrow keys when he says
And
next.
what we're going to do now is, and during this hour, you're going to hear from 4 of us who were there at the 1969 Darshan from the Myrtle Beach group, which included people from not only Myrtle Beach, but all over the eastern United States, New York, and many other places as well, central and eastern. Okay, so if we have the slide on there. So there is Baba's chair, and when we bowed down, that was a unique experience for us Westerners. Next slide, please. This is the large Myrtle Beach group, and it included people, as I said, from all over the eastern United States. And the next slide. There was also a small overflow group. And next slide. And this included longtime disciples, Kitty Davey and Elizabeth Patterson, who are in there in the middle of the picture, and also a young man on the right side with a dark coat and glasses and a mustache. If any of you recognize him, he's now the king of the kitchen here at Maribod. That's Alan Wagner. Next slide, please. So this is, one more slide. This is the beautiful bungalow of Guru Prasad. It was really a palace, Maharani Baroda's palace, given to Baba's use, and it was quite an experience to be there. And it was at this lovely building that we had the incredible experience of feeling Baba's presence to such a degree that it was a unique experience for all of us. We also met, next slide please, for the first time, we met the Mandali, whom we had barely heard of in the past, but we had wonderful experiences meeting people such as Erich here, and next slide, Francis Brabazon, who is at the microphones, addressing the crowd there in Guru Prasad, and perhaps reading that message that you heard earlier. We also had the very, very sweet pleasure of meeting, and the next slide, the women Mandali, Mara and Mani. Very wonderful experience. Next slide, please. Each day, we young Americans sat on the floor at Guru Prasad and had the experience of hearing Erich and Francis and others talk about being with Baba, and it was just a fabulous experience. Next slide, please. In that previous picture was Peter Potter and a guy in a striped shirt who is yours truly. And so what we'll do now, if we can end the slideshow at this point, and we're going to have music, a song from Cindy Lowe, who wrote this song in commemoration of her Darshan experience, and this was played at the one of the early commemoration programs for the 69 Darshan. So we're going to play that song, and then afterwards we'll each speak a little bit about our experiences there at the Darshan. And we're fortunate also to have Janice on cello here as well, John Gunn on bass, myself on percussion, and Cindy. Jai Baba.
Going to Darshan was the most important thing I've ever done in my life. It was the most meaningful thing I've ever done in my life. And nothing anyone can write or sing about it can really capture what it was like to be there and to meet Baba. And in my case, I had waited 5 years to meet Baba. And I had been on the 65 Darshan flight that got canceled for the Easterners, which was a crushing blow because I had waited and waited, and I had wanted to go to Baba the minute I saw his picture. I said, I'm going the next day. And my Baba contact said, no, you can't do that. He's in seclusion, and you can't go now. And I have always felt that was something of a mistake. Then when the 65 Darshan was canceled for the Westerners, I wrote to Baba and I said, can I come? And he said I should wait for Darshan. So I waited another 4 years. So that was the story. So I wrote this song and played it the first time at our first Darshan reunion, which was a 20-year Darshan event that was held at the Meher Center. It's called Sweet Mystery. And I have a cough.
This world and
drop down in the ocean for eternity. Only one desire, to know when love could be. Set my soul on fire, sweet mystery, sweet mystery. Oh, 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 sweet mystery. Oh, sweet mystery. I think I want to talk a little bit about getting there, because for me, I believe that the darshan really began for us as soon as we knew we were going, or it did for me. And getting there was kind of crazy. Most of us were young and poor, first of all. That's very important, because Baba got us there. None of us know how that happened, but people had mysterious money appearing in their bank accounts. Different things happened that we don't know. I had no money, and I had arranged for a loan from someone. And in the end, I had not only money to go myself, but I had money to chip in for somebody else's trip, who didn't get money, but ended up there too. So that was part of the deal, and it was very exciting. Most of us had never been out of the country, and we were going to India. And of course, this had been my dream for years at that point. And so I couldn't sleep, like for days before we left. I just couldn't sleep. And the night before we left, I was in Woodstock, and we had to leave and get to the airport and all that stuff in New York, which was a couple hours away. And I couldn't sleep the whole night before. Then we got to New York. Our flight was delayed because of mechanical problems. So I did not sleep that night either. Then we got to India. The night before Darshan, got assigned to our rooms. I couldn't sleep either. I was too excited. So by the time I got to Bruford, I was a basket case. I was very happy that, well, of course I remember Erich saying, "You have kept your appointment with God." But then after that, I really don't remember much at all. And so I was glad that Charlie read Francis's opening words, because they are beautiful, and I sort of missed it at the time because I was just so blown away that I was sitting there in Guru Prasad feeling Baba's presence, feeling that Baba was there. The main thing that happened to me, besides bowing down and feeling that I had met Baba, was seeing Mara for the first time. That was amazing. We hardly knew anything about Mara. I knew she existed. I knew that I would get word about her a little bit from Adele, who was in contact with Gaura, and so Adele would keep up with the happenings at Marazad and convey them to us. But really, we didn't think about Mara. She was just somebody who lived with Baba, like Mani and the others, and we never thought about her. So the thing I remember most vividly about that first day was her coming up on the dais and garlanding Baba's picture. And for, I don't know how long, probably a split second, but it felt like eternity, I saw her as who she was. I saw her as the queen of the universe. It was very clear to me who she was. And I was amazed. Later, I discovered she was incredibly accessible, that I could sit by her at the Darshan. I could sit by her. I could talk to her. She talked to us a lot. Those of us who approached her, many people did not. I think they were in awe or they were shy or whatever, but I never had that feeling. I just felt like, this is Mara. She's like Baba. So that was the beginning of my 20-year relationship with her. So that was one of the most important things that happened for me, definitely. How much time do I have left? Where's
6 minutes so far.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'll tell you a sort of funny story. My roommate on this trip and my friend was a woman named Cindy Gumpel. And we became sort of known as the two Cindys. And in some circle, Meru always remembered us as the two Cindys. But one day, I got it in my head, I think we were out shopping or something. We could only see, we should take Darshan 4 times. But I got this idea, wait a minute, he said we could take Darshan 4 times. I think that means bow down to him 4 times. So let's go to the Eastern Darshan in the afternoon. So we crashed the Eastern Darshan. Now what happened, we pulled up to Bruford in a rickshaw, and I had no idea. I thought maybe this is a big, terrible mistake. Maybe people are going to shoo us away. I had no idea. This had not been done by anyone. So, and it was a long driveway up to the house, and we were really scared. And we got there, and there was a watchman on the veranda, and he didn't speak any English. And he said, "Who are you? Who are you?" And we said, "Well, we're Cindy and Cindy." And so he went into the hall, going, "The Cindys are here! The Cindys are here! The Cindys are here!" And Goer came out, and she was expecting a bunch of people from Sindh, which is in northern India, and they're called Cindys. And she was so amazing. She welcomed us in. She told us where to sit, very close to the front, next to a wall, and it was crowded. And we sat there, and we didn't have a clue what was going on, but different people performed, and it was just wonderful. It was just wonderful. And they were all welcoming to us. They were all welcoming to us. But Mara, and Mara was the one I was just, she was a magnet for me. And when I left, the last thing she said to me, and I hadn't remembered this until just a few days ago, or a couple of weeks ago, as I was leaving, we were standing there. Saying goodbye, and she was saying goodbye to everybody, and she put her hands on my arms and went up and down my arms, and she said, "You love Baba very much. I can feel it." And I was just blown away, because I thought, I don't really love Baba. and I always feel like I don't really love Baba. But the other week, I remembered that, and I thought, oh, well, maybe I do, because she said I do. So anyway, going to Darshan was the best thing I ever did. And I feel that we still anybody who comes here and experiences Baba, it doesn't even have to be here, wherever it is, they still get Darshan. Darshan goes on. Jai Baba.
Hi, I'm John. Ooh. Yeah. Step back a little. Start my timer. I'm John Gunn. I was so fortunate to be on that flight. It was actually the New York group combined with Myrtle Beach. It was arranged by Fred Winterfeld. So I want to start off by saying how I felt Baba's guidance through all of the process of getting here. And it started the night before I went to Rick Chapman's talk. My ex-wife Barbara and I were determined to go to that talk, but we had 2 small children and no babysitter. So at 5 minutes till 3 for a 3 o'clock talk, this woman came to our house that we'd met 4 or 5 times. She liked our kids. We didn't call her. She said, "You people never get to have any fun. So why don't you, I'll watch the kids, why don't you just go out and do something?" So that freed us up to go to Rick Chapman's talk. So already, here's a little hint that Baba is behind the scenes going like this. So we instantaneously came to Baba. But then, and this is almost exactly 2 years before the Darshan. So after that, I thought back over the past few years, and I could see 8 enormous things that had happened, 8 big incidents in my life that all seemed to have been arranged by Baba, and that prepared me to follow the guidance in the booklet, God in a Pill. So it just seemed like even before I had heard Baba's name, he was watching out for me. So we were so fortunate to be able to go to the Meher Spiritual Center easily. We spent so much time with Kitty and Elizabeth getting trained because we were young people who had no discipline. We were ridiculous. But in any case, all that training and waiting, and I finally, Baba's Darshan was announced, and I wanted to have Baba's embrace. That's what I really wanted to have. So, big thrill, but no money. No money. 2 kids, doctor bills, no money. So then, through other interesting circumstances that we can only attribute to Baba, the money appeared. So now we've paid for the tickets and we're ready to go. Then the next sort of big item in the chronology is coming home from work, and my wife Barbara says, Baba has left his body. And one of the first things I said to her was, I really, really still want to go. So, fortunately, other people also had that conviction that we should go, and it started to spread. There were a lot of people in the Chapel Hill group who were thinking, well, maybe not. But then when some of us were determined to go, it all built up, and then Adi sent us that wonderful announcement saying the Darshan was still going to take place for those who wished to come. That was so great. But another problem. Now 3 small children, and who's a babysitter for an afternoon is possible. Who's going to watch the kids for almost 2 weeks? And Baba even worked that out for us so that we could go. So, so we came to India, and I had studied the Bhagavad-Gita for a year. I'd written a 45-page paper about it, and I was really psyched for this exotic place, India, that would be so foreign and so unusual. And when the plane landed, there were no jetways, of course, in the 1960s. When the plane landed and the stewardess opened the door, the wind of Mumbai blew into the plane. It was an astonishing thing. You know, and that smell does not exist anywhere I've been in the West, anywhere else. It's like urine, incense, diesel fumes, cooking fires, all blended together to make this experience. And the shock was, I just instantaneously thought, I'm home. And India didn't seem exotic. It seemed like, this is where I belong, this is my place, you know. It was so thrilling to have that experience. So then we get off the plane, the boys, the young boys from Mumbai are up there, they're cheering at us from the first floor, and it was really nice. So fast forward to the first day of Darshan. You know, Erich told us, you've kept your appointment with God. You know, Francis read us that lovely paper that he'd written. So then Erich said, now is a chance for you to take Baba's Darshan at the chair, if you wish. It's completely optional. And it was a strange experience for us to do that. And Sharon, I know, is going to say something about her reaction to bowing down. This is new. So I sat there for at least an hour. We had almost 2 hours after the announcements. And we all sat in silence. And one by one, people went up and bowed down. Some then went outside. Some went and sat back down. And after a little bit of hesitancy, like, well, how do you do this? How am I going to do it? Am I going to use method A or method B? Then after about an hour, I had been sitting there and just thinking to myself over and over again, thinking to Baba, I just want to love you more and more. And an hour of that really prepared me to go bow down. Because otherwise, I'm so mental, I'd be thinking, well, should I touch Baba's sandals? Is that okay? Or it would be analytical, but all that time, I just got to go up and put my head at his feet in full sincerity. And I can't call on any visions or anything like that, but it was a really, really moving experience for me. And shortly after that, the clock went off, or whatever, it was 11 o'clock, we were all to file out. So I walked out the door, and outside, Mani is standing 6 feet from the door, and she holds out her arms. And she gave me an embrace that was so astonishing that I became convinced that Baba had given me that embrace through her, because that's what I really wanted, and he felt like spoiling me. It was astonishing. And I'm not the only person that had that experience. Like, you walk away and you can't feel the floor with your feet. You feel like you're floating in a dream. It was so beautiful. So for me, the next 3 days were agonizing. Agonizing, because all I wanted was to sit there in silence. I'm an introvert, come on. And have that, wait, check the time here. Okay. And have that feeling of just sitting there in Baba's presence. But what did we have? We had folk music on guitars. We had Begin the Begin on Henry Cashaudi's trombone. We had endless people's poems that I would pay money not to have to listen to, you know? And I'm thinking, well, when are we going to have this quiet time with Baba again? No. But it doesn't matter, because that first day was so beautiful. So then, when we came here, it was unbelievably hot. Pune 39, 40, 41. That for foreigners, that's like 102, 104, 106. But here it was something completely different. And my brother Brad became extremely ill. Fever of 104, 105, something like that. And he was lying on a cot in the trust compound when we were getting ready to get on the buses, ST buses, and go back to Pune. And a young man, one of the people in our group, by then we had gotten bow down fever. And we were taking Darshan at every photograph, and it's like a switch had been flipped. So this guy came in, there was a little mat, like a bath mat, and so he knelt down and was bowing at the bed, and just then Adi K. Irani came by. And he looked in and he said, "You fool!" And he went in and he grabbed the guy by the shoulder and pulled him up. And we came to find out that that's the cot that Adi used to nap on. And I think he just didn't want some crazy foreigner dumping their impressions at the bed that he got to use every day. So I'm running out of time now. So my successor is Sharon Muir, who I've known since 1965. And so she's going to tell you her story next. Jai Baba.
The Chapel Hill group. Oh, we Well, I was blessed in 1967, and it's an awful long story, so I'm not going to tell you, but anyone ask, I will one day, about the Ku Klux Klan getting grabbed by the police and finally being rescued by an old friend from the Chapel Hill community and hanging out, Marshall Hay. And he came and said, get in the car truck. The police released us. Don't worry, it's all okay, but I'll tell you the whole story later. And I got taken up the highway into a beaten up green mailbox, past that, down a dirt road that curved around trees, down to little cabins and smiling people. And I was going, and a little short lady, her name was Kitty, and Kitty said to me, oh, don't worry, we're all taking care of it. The little girl has had the problems, and we're taking her to the hospital. Why don't you go inside and just sit for a few minutes? And I went in, and there on the wall was a picture. And I looked at the picture, and Baba gave me a glimpse of who he was. I was, having been in the drug community a number of years and other adventurous things, I had never even comprehended what God in human form could be. And Baba's position had been this. It was a month later that someone told me he could move, that anyone told me he could walk, and that Baba had written this was 67, and through the next 67, 68, and the announcement finally came that Baba was going to have Darshan, and we could go to India to have Baba's Darshan. And, well, we were students, had just had a baby. My husband and I'm the shorter half of the old Harry and Sharon team that was around for 51 years through here. Well, I'm going to stop right there and switch to a story that started back then and ends up. In John Gunn was the one that had the copy of the telegram that showed me that Baba had dropped his body. We were on the main street, Franklin Avenue in Chapel Hill. And Meher Baba, Avatar Meher Baba, dropped his physical body today. That hit me. And it continued to live eternally in the hearts of all his lovers everywhere. And that was part of the cable. And my anger, we were going to India, and now there's my own ego, all of that coming into a... And the Baba Center at Myrtle Beach, as Elizabeth Patterson had said, that the teachings of Baba, without supplanting professed religious convictions or beliefs, but for the enhancement and the strengthening of the spiritual life. That's the function there at the Mayor's Center. And the leader's purpose, they'll trek to India. The newspapers were carrying it in the towns of Raleigh, Charlotte, everywhere, that this group from Myrtle Beach and Chapel Hill, and we were with Fred and Ella group out of New York, we're all going to India. and published for everyone. The leader's purpose, Meher Baba, was not to establish a new religion, but to bring all religions together as revelations of God. And that meant all of us. And those months, the news from India didn't always get into rural Chapel Hill. I mean, Kitty and Elizabeth would get the telegrams, and then we'd get some of the news, but we didn't know what misery, what suffering Baba had gone through. Only recently, reading a lot of the Mandali's memoirs and the books has brought to me what an incredible time that all here, the Mandali, the close ones, had gone through before Baba dropped his body. But soon the announcement came. Darshan is going to happen. My story, first story, which is the one when we all came, it was very financially challenging to come to. I was in school, Harry was in school, we'd had a child, somehow it all happened, and we came. And I have been lucky because I had access to a typewriter, so I get to write Audie and Erich all the questions and the letters we had about the Chapel Hill group wants to find out, do we need a leader? Should we, there's Fred and Ella, and there's all of these leaders of this group and that group. And Baba sent the message back, Meher Baba is the only leader. And from that time on, Chapel Hill has had the only leader as Meher Baba. And it continues to this day. What are we talking about? Years and years and years. Well, I wanted to meet Erich and Audie personally. And one afternoon during the Darshan, I'll get to that if I have time in a little while, but the men were invited to go meet Erich and Audie and hang out with the boys. And I was the one that had pulled an all-nighter in the office with a typewriter to write the letters, and all of my conversations and all of the indications in India had been with men. Well, now the story now covers a long time. I got a rickshaw, went on dirt 2-lane Bun Garden Road out to the front of Guru Prasad. I was just going to watch, but of course I had my sketchbook, and I had my drawing pens, and I was out there, and I was working hard, and then the men started coming out, and the Mandali were giving them each a prasad, and I was watching, and tap on my shoulder. I turned around. There was a little short Indian man who said, "Hello, I am Prasad. I'm an architect. You're having problems with your drawing. Let me help you." 10 minutes later, standing there, he draws me Guru Prasad. So Baba sent me, the little spy out front, a special prasad. Well, Harry and I didn't get to come back until like 29 years later. Kitty was here, but we finally got to come, so I unfortunately got the hot seat. And I had to say, Erich, I got to confess. He said, "What?" I said, "I spied on you." He said, "You did what?" I spied on you, Eric, and all the men. I got a little rickshaw and I went out and you were giving out prasad and a tap came on my shoulder and Baba gave me prasad. And a hand went out in the back in Mandalay Hall. Hand went up. And she said, "That's so-and-so's son, I betcha. He used to be an architect who lived in Pune. Now he lives in Bombay." And 2 weeks later, in the Pilgrim Center dining room, I had lunch with my prasad. And we became friends. And after that, he had drawn up and connected. So somehow, 29 years later, in India with my little story, I was connected. And I think I'm okay? I'll do one little quick thing. And for us, as we would, at the Baba Center, you go in and you'd sort of sit in Baba's room and over to the lagoon cabin and you'd sit on the chairs and you would look at Baba's chair and you would think and you would be with Baba. Well, we were part of there's a chair up there, bunch. And we were and they said we could take, and we were going, we'd never seen anyone go and bow down to a chair. You know, there was a picture there, but so we watched it. And one by one, we tried to figure out what to do. And what happened almost universally was an embrace. Baba, one by one, took these awkward, what the heck, Westerners, and from us bowing down at his feet, embraced each of us. And we left that day in magic. And the entire dream world, the wonderful, I cannot thank the volunteers that helped in Bombay, in Pune, here at Marabad and Marazad, that helped us know we were part of the family. And again, I want to thank you, and I've got lots of stories, and I brought pictures, and I love to hang out, so Jai Baba. Thank you.
I'm sneaking in because, Chris is here. But I only took 9 minutes, so I just want to tell you what I forgot to tell you. That's the end of my story. Came back to Chapel Hill, so blissed. American summertime falls after Indian summertime, June, July, August. And I would come from work to my car, sitting in a parking lot in the sun. Inside the car, it can be 50 degrees when you first open it up. No AC. I would sit in my car for 3, 4, 5 minutes. India. And when I'd be walking to work, if a bus would come by or a truck and blast me with fumes, it would be like, India. Diesel fumes, India. Here's Chris Barker.
Test. There we go. Okay. I heard about Baba only a few months before Baba dropped the body, and I had not met any Baba lovers, but I got the desire to go to the Baba Center. I hitchhiked there halfway across the United States and many adventures, but I finally got there, and I arrived about 3 or 4 days after Baba had dropped the body. So a Baba lover came out to pick me up in town, and on the way in, he told me that Baba had dropped the body. My feeling was, I already loved Baba. I already believed that Baba was God. So I immediately thought, if Baba's God, it doesn't matter if he's in a body or not. I had a wonderful, wonderful, profound stay at the center and felt like I had reached my home among the Baba lovers there at the center. And I found out about the Darshan. And so I immediately left the center after 3 or 4 days and tried to earn some money to be able to go to the Darshan, but it was too late. I didn't have enough time to earn any money, any significant money, to make it to the Darshan. So I figured the only thing I could do is ask my parents to loan me the money. So I hitchhiked back halfway across the United States to Texas, and I talked to my parents about it. They could see that there was already a profound change in me, but they thought they needed to talk to their Baptist minister about this. So we had a conference, my parents, myself, and the Baptist minister. And he looked at Baba's picture in the Universal Message, and he folded it back up, and he told my parents that I was a misguided youth and I would outgrow this, and don't give him any money to go to India, which was devastating. It just crushed me, because I felt that this was the invitation from God himself to come for his Darshan. So I tried to reconcile that, because Baba said, if you can't come, you'll have my Darshan somehow, some way. A month or so passed. It was getting close to the deadline to get a passport and a visa. And I got a letter from Kitty Devi. I had met Kitty Devi at the Mayor Baba Center one time, that one visit that I had made. And in that letter, she said, however much you need to go to the Darshan, I'll loan you the money. And also a friend of mine, Ralph Jackson, whom I had found out about Baba with, we were college roommates, he sent $300. So between the two of them, I was able at the last minute to be caught up in this wave of young American Baba lovers that went to the 1969 Darshan. And it was just an incredible, profound experience. The very first day, I was in what was called the Overflow group, and we were invited to go to Guru Prasad, and the men went with the men to the men's side, and the women went to the women's side. And it was a wonderful experience to meet those Mandali members for the first time, Erich and the rest of them. And at the end of that day, we walked out into that long driveway at Guru Prasad, and I saw a woman walking towards us, a beautiful, vibrant Indian woman, and somebody said, that's Mani, Baba's sister. And she came over and she embraced us, and like John, I felt just absolutely that Baba gave me his Darshan in that moment through her, and I was just floating afterwards. I think probably half the young men in our group felt the same way about Mani, and it was just wonderful. In the mornings, we had our Darshan program. In the afternoon, we had mostly free time. But on one day, all of the Baba lovers were gathered up and taken around on a bus tour through Pune. So we saw Baba's house, we saw Deccan College, we saw St. Vincent's High School, we saw the hospital where Baba was born, and the last thing was Baba House and the Pumpkin House. So we went into Baba's house there, and Jal, Baba's brother Jal, had a bookstore. And in that bookstore, he had some Baba books, and everybody wanted some of these Baba books from Jal, from India. So there was a line of 250 to 300 people to get into that room. Well, it was such a long line that I didn't want to spend my whole time there at Baba's house standing in line, so I didn't go in. But the next afternoon, we had free, so I and a friend got a rickshaw, and we went back over to Baba's house, went into the book room to buy some Baba books, and it had been picked clean. There were almost no Baba books left. There were a handful of books on one shelf left. So I picked out 2 of the books, one of which was Stay with God. Johan, is Johan here? Can we start the slideshow? Is it possible to do that?
Slideshow again?
Yeah. So I got these Baba books, and one of them was, I think, The Perfect Master by Charles heard them, and the other was Stay with God. And so I walked outside, I paid Joel for the books, and I walked out into the courtyard, and I looked at those Baba books, and I opened it up, and opened up Stay with God, and on the title page of Stay with God was Baba's signature, M.S. Irani. And I was just floored that this book was there. And don't worry about the slides, we'll just forget about that.
Here,
So I
point your camera.
went back inside and I told Joel that there must be some mistake. Here was Baba's signature on this book that I just bought in his book room.
Yeah,
And he said,
put the camera onto the
no,
laptop.
it must have been meant for you. And so I had this book, Stay with God, signed by Baba.
Just move the camera.
And for me, I immediately felt that this was the message that I had been looking for from Baba, that I'd been wondering what I was going to do after the Darshan. I was 20 years old, and I was
Here, we'll just do this.
thinking about what
You-
career, what path, what
Shoot
should
it
I
from the
do?
laptop.
And I felt
Take
like
the camera.
Baba's answer to me immediately, what I felt was,
No, we can do
it
it.
doesn't matter what kind of
I think,
career
yeah,
you're
he
in,
needs
what
to
kind of
go.
work you do. What's important is to stay with
You
God.
need to help the
And
cameraman.
I eventually became a geologist and taught geology. And as a scientist, sometimes it's a little hard to reconcile what Baba says about the nature of illusion with what I see in the rocks.
He's not the
But I keep remembering what Baba said to me through that incident, which is, stay with God.
No,
So
back.
that was
See what we got.
a wonderful moment for me. So I just want to say that, as many people have said, that the
This shot.
Darshan was the central highlight of my life.
It's the only one left.
No question about it. Baba gave me so much love during that event that I spent the rest of my life absorbing that and thinking about that and feeling it. Baba has carried me through the rest of my life with that. So I want to thank Baba from the depths of my heart for making it possible for me to have that experience. So that concludes our Myrtle Beach group presentation. Jai Baba.
It seems there's a couple of minutes left, I don't know. And we have to get Siddharth's guys out here. So, Gokran says, do you want to say something in closing? Well, thinking back over this Darshan and all those messages Baba gave beforehand, like I would give Darshan reclining and so forth, one of the things Baba said was, I will be very strong then. And I really think the reason that we all had such a wonderful experience is because Baba he turned up the force of that feeling of his presence. And it's lingered with many of us for a really long time. But I'm also remembering Lindsay Ryder, late Lindsay Ryder, and also still ever-present Sheila Krinsky. They went to Darshan, they felt nothing. They felt nothing. They were bitter because they were expecting something and they didn't get it. And I consider those guys the heroes because without Baba spoiling them, getting a kick instead of a kiss, they've stuck with him for all time. So to me, that's really beautiful. But the other thing is, if you're sitting there, you're thinking, oh shucks, I didn't get to go to this wonderful event. How unfair that is. Of course, we have no idea how many previous connections you've had with Baba in this Advent and past ones. But what I think to me is important about this Darshan, whether you got there or not, is that Baba demonstrated that even after he's out of the body, he's available. And he had told us his Advent would be 100 years and a little bit more. And during that time, it would be as if he's in the body. He would be accessible. So we haven't even quite reached the halfway mark yet. So all of us can take advantage of that, whether we got to go on this trip or not. So, Jai Baba.
Check. Jai Baba. We've been given the privilege of doing a song for Baba today. As you know, we're celebrating the 40 years of Great Darshan. And 50, I'm so sorry. For us, this is a very special occasion because when we were preparing for this song, we all took that in our minds that it's almost like Baba's giving his physical darshan and he's actually called all of us to actually sing for him. So for us, Baba's actually present physically here today, and we consider this an amazing special privilege to come here today and sing for him and of course all his lovers. So it's a short Qawwali. We tried to make it nice and hard for ourselves. So I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did preparing for it. Thank you. Jai Baba.
Check, check.
Mic check, mic check.
Check.
Check, check.
Check, check, check.
Check, mic check.
Test. Okay.
Check.
Sound check.
Hello. Check, check. Check.
बाबा की जय। हो भी नहीं दिल में देखा है, तुम एक गोरख धन्ना हो, तुम एक गोरख धन्ना हो। मिटाते नहीं हो तुम, जो हंस बात है वो बताते नहीं हो तुम। ठहराओ मेरे दिल में समाए हो किस तरह, हालांकि दो जहां में समाते नहीं हो तुम। ये मांग दो हर जाई हो सभी को बताते नहीं हो तुम एक गोरख नंदा हो, तुम एक गोरख नंदा हो। तेरे मस्जिद में खाने, मंदिर मस्जिद में खाने, कोई ये माने कोई वो माने, मंदिर मस्जिद में खाने, कोई ये माने कोई वो माने। आशाने कोई ये माने कोई वो माने, एक होने तेरे कायल है, एक तार पे कोई मायल है। असलियत लेकिन तू जाने, कोई ये माने कोई ये माने। कल में शामिल करता है, एक सबसे अकेला रहता है दोनों ही तेरे मस्ताने। कोई ये माने कोई वो माने, सब है जब आशिक तुम्हारे नाम के, सब है आशिक तुम्हारे नाम के। क्यों ये झगड़े हैं नहीं वो राम के, तुम एक गोरख नंदा हो, तुम एक गोरख नंदा हो, तुम एक गोरख नंदा हो। मरकज़े जस्तजू आलम रंग जारज़ू होके माहौल में कुछ नहीं हिला हो। तुम बहुत दिलरुबा तुम बहुत अबरू, अर्श की अज़मते फर्श की आबरू। तुम हो कौनैन का हसीने यार, आपने कर लिया आंसुओं से वज़ू। अब तो कर दो अता दिल का इल्ज़ू, आओ पर्दे से तुम आंख के रूबरू। चंद लम्हे मिलन दो घड़ी रंग, नाज़ जब ना मेरे क्या बजा तू बदू। वादा हूँ ला शरीके लहू, ला शरीके लहू। वादा हूँ वहदा हूँ अल्लाहू 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 अल्लाहू। बाबा हूँ बाबा हूँ बाबा हूँ, 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 बाबा हूँ बाबा हूँ बाबा हूँ।
Avatar Meher Baba ki jai. So our morning session is coming to close, and before you disperse, that souvenir is that side on the right. So each center can collect one copy of that souvenir, and again the buses would reach here 3:15, And those who have attended 1969 Darshan, they would be requested to be here so that they can be photographed today and tomorrow also. So 3:30 we again meet and start our afternoon session, and thank you very much all of you. आपने सुबह का जो सेशन अटेंड किया उसके लिए आप सबको धन्यवाद, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। और आप बाबा के प्रेम को जो इस कार्यक्रम के माध्यम से उन्होंने हम सबके हृदयों में स्थापित किया है, उसको साथ में लेके जाएं और महसूस करें और उसको लेकर वापस यहाँ पर फिर से अगले कार्यक्रम के लिए आ जाएं। अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय।
You're going to wash it and bring it back?
I'm going to bring a pot of coffee later, wash it as you like. Give it to me at the end of the day. Bring coffee for the afternoon session.
The team from Rabia of Basra, please stay back. The participants of the play Rabia of Basra, just stay back for some time, please. Meet at the back of